could you benefit from some tips to optimize your workflow? Then stay tuned because that is our topic today. Welcome everyone to another Momentum Monday with me, Emily McHugh, your supercharged coach and host of the Supercharged with Emily podcast. And today it's all about workflow. Actually, this whole entire month, the month of July, we've been talking about workflow in the Supercharged Club and all the aspects of things you need to think about when you are trying to do that for your work and how to be more in a state of flow and what that actually means, because that's how you're able to be more effective and more efficient. So today I want to share some reminders and some tips to help us focus on how to do this optimizing. So jumping right in to optimizing your workflow. Okay? So this is a great space to be, and I want you to just take a moment to think about what this could mean for yourself. Okay? So as we go into this concept, think about how it could apply to you. You want to put certain steps in place so that you can achieve certain specific results and get to a particular bullseye place, if you will, because you're taking the steps in order to achieve something. You're not just doing random steps for a random purpose. You have a goal in mind, you have objectives, and you want to figure out the most effective way to get there. Kind of like mapping out a journey, and you type an address into your GPS roadmap system, and you're hoping it will take you the fastest route or the most cost-effective route or whatever criteria that you place on it. And then you select the route that you want to take and then follow those steps. And that's exactly what we're doing with the workflow. And usually we tend to select the fastest route, okay? Even if tolls are involved, because sometimes it's worth paying that little extra to get where you want to go that much faster. So I think so. Absolutely. So with that being said, when we seek out to or set out to plan a route or plan a trip or plan any kind of agenda, we want to know what our goals are in the first place. What do positive results look like for you? And that allows you to maybe then think of best ways to get into the workflow. But today now, we want to actually achieve this kind of state, this flow state, this relaxed state where you can literally stretch out your arms and say, yes, this feels good, this feels right, because I'm actually achieving my goals. So this kind of gives you a sense of how you want to feel, and not just the results you want to achieve, but how do you want to feel while doing it. It really makes a difference so that you can accomplish all the full spectrum of what you're seeking to do. And taking care of yourself in the process is really important, because as July is self-care month as well, it's not just about doing work. It's about doing it in a way that's respectful of you as a person, your dignity as a human being. I mean, you can't sacrifice who you are just to get some work done. That would be counterproductive and, dare I say, unworthy of your time. So, and certainly not going to be a concept of flow. And one of the things I encourage you to think about is, what does flow really mean? People tend to think that flow is just going undulating and everything is just fine, but that's not necessarily what it means. It also means that there could be some resistance involved. And I had a wonderful conversation on this topic, the power of your deep conscious workflow and supercharging your workflow, with Michelle Milner-Iradin about a year ago, and I encourage you to check it out. I'm going to link to it in the description below, so make sure you go and watch that video, where she really goes in depth into how to help create better workflow as well. So some great tips in that video. But today, let's jump further in to this. I want to talk about the 5 phases of workflow. Now, this is not like some scientific 5 phases of workflow, but it's just kind of the process of how things tend to be as you're creating a workflow. So if you think about the first phase could be, there's a certain level of comfort, like you feel good about something right now, okay? It's working fine. But then it no longer is fine because maybe the goals become more complicated or the steps become more complicated, and it involves a bit of a stretch. And when you have to stretch, usually you're going up beyond your comfort zone, going beyond where you normally are, and then sets in a level of discomfort where you're no longer comfortable, where things are no longer flowing the way you're accustomed to. And that brings on a certain degree of stress. And the type of stress that causes maybe some anxiety, a little bit of overwhelm, and you're not quite sure how to work it out. And then you proceed along the path to find some relief, okay? You seek to find some relief for your stress because if you don't find it, you're just going to be in this stuck state where you just cannot really function. So when you're aware of how you're feeling and what's happening to you, you're better able to react properly. You're better able to respond. And that's the word that I prefer to use. Respond as opposed to just reacting, because you know that this is a part of the process. And I always encourage people to be aware of their expectations, because that way you can better be prepared as you're going along. Okay? So here are the 3 things I want you to consider as you optimize your workflow. Number 1, have checklists. When you itemize the steps involved in a workflow, you're better able to know what's ahead, instead of just randomly like, oh, I have to do this next. Oh, what's next again? Oh, what was I supposed to do again? No, you have a flow for each step along the way. And that leads us to like the clear steps. Are the steps in your checklist, are they clear? Like, do you know what exactly you need to do, how exactly you need to execute it? Because when you're not sure, you run into number 3, the bottlenecks. Can you identify the bottlenecks? And let's say you do have a checklist, but you're running into challenges. Well, that means you need to work it out. You need to simplify the workflow or break it down even further. So knowing that you have a checklist for each of the activities that you do. Let's say I want to have a checklist for my social media posting. I do a newsletter, I do my video, I do my posts, I do this, I do that, and I lay out the design of the newsletter, the content, the copy editing that I'm going to do, the video production time, the video editing if necessary, the Canva designs, slide layouts, all the steps in the process, and literally lay them out 1, 2, 3. That becomes a checklist for each thing. You could then have a checklist for your bookkeeping. You have a checklist for any aspect of your business or your life that you need to manage, and especially when it's a recurring, ongoing thing. So having those series of checklists makes it so that you don't have to think through the process each and every time, always starting from scratch. So that's 1. And number 2, having the clear steps of what actions to take. And then number 3, if there are bottlenecks, being able to identify them and do something about them so that they can go into that flow state. So these are some tips on how you can optimize your workflow and things to think about to assist you in doing that. Because once you do those things, you can get back to this place where you can feel in flow like our whole goal is to feel. So these are some of the tips that I'm sharing with you today that I hope you'll find helpful as you seek to optimize your workflow and to achieve that state of flow that we all kind of yearn to have, because that makes us then feel very effective and very on top of our work and actually getting where we need to go. So with that being said, make sure to do a couple things. I need you to like the video, okay? Comment below, click like, subscribe if you haven't already subscribed, because you do not want to miss these tips that can help you supercharge your business and ultimately supercharge your life. Okay, so that's what you need to do. And I will see you next time on Supercharge with Emily on Momentum Monday. And until then, stay supercharged.